Hey, what's up, fam? Welcome to tonight's episode of 49 Faithful Lee. We're your hosts, Miriah Lee and Teran Lewis. Today we're joined by a very special guest, David. How you doing, fellas?
Good. How are you doing?
Good, good. It's been a busy, hectic day. Um, so you were explaining a little bit to us before we went live what you have in the works, what you're all about. If you want to tell everybody what you got going on, where they can find you.
I evaluate prospects for the NFL draft. I've been doing that since 2000, 2001, 2002. Um, I'm going to be setting up my own website. It'll be ripamaro.com and covering the NFL draft and college football all year round with weekly blogs and prospect prospect highlights and scouting reports, big board, and all of that. And right now, you can find me mainly at Rip Amaro on Twitter. But
Sounds good.
Cool. Sounds good,
Um,
man.
TL, I know, we had some, before we jump into football, some events that took place today that you would like to speak about. So if you want to go ahead and do that.
Yeah, I appreciate that. So yeah, I just wanted to touch up on this Texas shooting, and all this other stuff. I mean, I kind of keep quiet and I don't really say much when it comes to these incidents and stuff like that. But I just want to say, all this stuff that's going on is a travesty. You know, I've been seeing on Twitter people focus too much on the wrong things in life right now. Like people too busy worried about who's dating who and oh, this interracial couple, like, the stuff that was going on with Russell Wilson and Sierra talking about, oh, why is she dating this corny dude and talking about LeBron James's son taking a white girl to prom. Like all that stuff is irrelevant, people. We need to focus on coming together as a society and being better in this world so none of this stuff happens. I mean, I have kids. I know you have a daughter, Mariah. I don't know about you, David, but the fact that you wake up and send your kids to school and you don't know if you're going to see them is heartbreaking. So prayers go out to these Texas families that sent their kids to school, and in the hopes of picking them up or them catching the bus home and feeding them dinner tonight, and tucking them into bed. Now that moment has been taken away from them. So I just want to say I love you guys. I love all my people, but we need to come together and see what we can do for a change. I mean, I know it's a big deal, but you get a group that starts taking charge and tries to make a difference. Some people will start following suit. So, I'm a big advocate for guns. I feel like they're a good thing if used in the right way and if you have the proper training. I don't agree that people can get them so easy. I feel like there need to be more extensive background checks and stuff like that. But for the people saying, "Oh, we need to take away people's guns and stuff like that," I disagree with that. Um, because you can't blame a pencil for the words being misspelled. You can't blame the cars for car accidents, and you can't blame guns for killing people. Because the simple fact is, it's people that are doing this situation. So I just want to say that, yeah, I feel you, Callie. Like it's just, yeah, it's one of those things where it's just hurtful, man. So
It's Collie, not
I'm sorry.
Callie.
I'm sorry, Kelly. I was just sorry.
Mhm.
I was in the moment, brother. I said your name wrong. But anyway, yeah, that's just one of those things where, yeah, it's sad. Like I feel like the stuff what goes on in social media, like we sit there and we drag each other for the stupidest stuff, and like I said, I'll say it again, we worry about the wrong things in life instead of focusing on our future and focusing on like, you know, these kids and what we can do better as people. So that's what I wanted to say just before we start talking about the NFL and stuff like that. So prayers up again for these families in Texas that no longer is able to see their kids, going forward. So
Yep, I completely agree. Thank you for taking the time for that. Um, yeah, I was actually with my daughter getting her hair cut, getting ready for her graduation on Saturday when that news came across my phone. And that's, yeah, it's horrible. It's horrible that you can't, like, I feel like we can't go anywhere these days without some shit, like worrying about some shit happening.
yeah,
Like the
exactly.
grocery store, every event, like we live in Vegas, we had, one of the worst mass shootings ever, here. Um,
Hmm.
Elementary schools, high schools, junior highs, it's like we're supposed to send our kids to school in confidence that they're going to be safe, that they're going to be taken care of there, like they spend as much time there that they do at home, it's
Yep.
like, and now we can't even send them to school for them to get an education without, worrying if they're going to be safe. If some crazy is going to come in and freaking kill everybody, it's
Yeah.
sad. And I agree, most of the time we are worried about shit that's, that doesn't matter.
Doesn't
And,
matter.
like we're all guilty of it. We're
Yeah.
not saying that we don't do it too, but we definitely need to take time to do some things better in life.
Absolutely.
Yeah, without getting on a tangent, especially the last several years, it's really started at the top where you have people that are actively trying to divide the country, and the rhetoric has increased, and the dehumanization has increased, and you're seeing this uptick as a result of that, where they're referring to each other as enemies
Yep.
and as less than human, and you get things like Buffalo, where you know, and it's a direct result of what's put out there, and I don't think much of it is accidental, unfortunately, and
Yeah.
I don't know that there's an easy answer to it, but it's tragic.
Yeah. I
Yeah, I
agree,
agree.
David.
All right, so before we jump in, the 49ers had their second day of OTAs today, and we got to hear from some of the players, heard from Shanahan. But I do want to ask you, David, before we jump into that, you said that, you have a good track record on, quarterback prospects and, whatnot. What were your thoughts on Trey Lance coming out? Are you a Trey Lance person? How do you feel that the kid's going to do for us going forward?
I think that I was high on Trey Lance and remain that way. He has all the arm talent that you could ask for, and just as importantly, is an extremely strong leader and hard worker, and the intelligence and the way he picks up information. He has all of that package, and an underrated part of the success at the position for young quarterbacks is the situation that they land in. And I can't think of a quarterback in the last 15 or 20 years that's walked into a better situation than Trey Lance is walking into, in terms of supporting cast and quality and stability of the coaching staff. He has everything working in his favor. And, we saw limited action last year, about 2.5 games worth, but you could see by the Houston game him settle down and start to be comfortable, particularly in the second half. And he was just zipping and zipping and zipping. And I think people are going to be very surprised at how well he comes out of the blocks this year. Um, Conversely, you got guys like Trevor Lawrence and Zach Wilson, Justin Fields, who walked into really difficult situations, and they don't have the supporting cast, the quality and stability of coaching, particularly in Jacksonville. And you can have the talent, but sometimes the situation is too much to overcome, as you saw with guys like David Carr or even Alex Smith, where if you're walking in and they don't have the cast, and you're changing coaches every year, it puts them in a really, really difficult position to succeed. And Mahomes, I guess, is the closest comparison we have in recent history
Yeah.
in terms of a quality situation. But I think Lance's situation is actually better set up than even Mahomes was. And I have all the confidence in the world that he's gonna be successful this year. I know it's hard to project 2.5 games over a full season, but if you take his numbers in those 2.5 and project them over 17, you get, I think, 34 touchdowns and 13 interceptions, over 4,000 yards. So, I mean, he didn't play poorly last year, in spite of maybe the narrative was that he didn't look good. But I think this year, the off season, and betting into the system with Shanahan, we're going to see a different type of quarterback come week one.
Yeah. I totally agree with you. And you hit the nail on the head with the saying, about his leadership and stuff like that. And I'm sure you're going to probably bring that up, Mariah, because in his press conference today, he had brought something up about that, about him, not worried about all the outside noise and stuff like that. He was just like, all I worry about is my coaching staff and the people in his locker room. As long as they believe in me, people on social media, I could care less what they say. And that's what you want from your quarterback. You want your quarterback to have some thick skin, doesn't get rattled, doesn't worry about what everybody's talking about. So that right there just goes to show you how good this kid is and his mentality going forward as being our future quarterback. So
Yeah. And what you said about, like him coming into a good situation, we heard that from Kittle as well when he talked this week, not today at the presser, but when he went on his media rounds, talking about that, like, yeah, the kid has amazing talent, but, we're expecting him to have bumps and bruises, and it's okay because he has the supporting staff around him, the supporting crew, the team around him to make up for those bumps and bruises. And that's my whole thing. Like, people are so worried about like him coming in and being this, freaking god of a quarterback right away. And it's like, as long as he, like, we've had mediocre quarterback play this entire time, and look where we've gotten. So as long as he can be, at least a decent quarterback, like, our team has gotten better now, so we definitely have the team around him to make up for those bumps and bruises as they happen.
yeah, that's
And,
right, Mariah. You're right.
and then you talk about, the leadership, and, I feel like every person that they asked today about Trey Lance, they all talked about that. Jimmy Ward brought that up, and Kittle's brought that up. Ayuk, talked that he's so excited to be back with Trey and having Trey lead the way. Um, I guess, I don't know if you guys have seen, any of the videos that came out today from OTAs and seeing Trey throw and whatnot. I know a question, big, everybody seems to be worried about the wobbly balls that he throws, and um, the arm, his arm hitch and whatnot.
Yeah.
And today in the videos that I saw, anyways, of course they're only a few minutes, whatever. Um, it looked like, I mean, Shanahan said he don't think that his arm motion, his that changed any, but it looks like it did to me, and I didn't see any wobbly balls. Trey talked about today how, most of the season he was dealing with that sore finger, and had to change the way that he threw and everything because of that pointer finger. So maybe that had a reason to do with those wobbly balls, who really knows, but I didn't see that today. What are your guys' thoughts on, the what we've seen so far?
He, his tape at North Dakota State and what I saw from him last season, and like you said in the videos today, he has good zip on it, tight spiral most of the time.
Yep.
His accuracy is improving. One thing I want to mention is that Mahomes coming out, there was a lot of talk about his funky throwing motion and his mechanics, and can he translate to the NFL, having played in an air raid and never calling plays in the huddle, and on and on and on. He was doubted the same way, and people forget that, after a few years, how successful he was. But the same kind of doubts are gonna come up, and I don't think they're any more valid with Lance than they were there. There's some things that he needed to clean up from a mechanic standpoint, a footwork standpoint, but that just comes with work and coaching, and he's showing that improvement. So.
Yeah, I think you're right, Mariah. I saw a little bit of a difference in his throwing motion. But David's right. Like when you look at his tape when he was at North Dakota State, even when he was at his pro day and stuff like that, I didn't see the balls being real wobbly. I think
Right.
it was this season, like you said, because maybe he was dealing with that finger and stuff like that. But yeah, I mean, it looks crisp. It looks on point. Like I'm not worried about any arm fitness at all. So, the stuff that you brought up is like, like what Kittle was saying, like the bumps and the bruises and stuff like that. So this is what I'm going to say to the 49er fam. If we go into every game expecting to win, but also expecting that Jimmy was going to throw one interception per game, we need to be okay with that with Lance too. Because be looking forward to that to possibly happen, where he's going to make his mistakes and stuff like that. So I know it's probably not going to be that way, as we all know, Miriah. We know how it is with the Trey and Jimmy stuff like that. But it's comical to me that we sit there and we go into a game like, oh, we can win this game if the defense is perfect, special team is perfect, we don't have any turnovers. Yeah, Jimmy can throw an interception, but as long as everything else is going right, we're good. Have that same energy for Trey, because he's going into his first year as a starter. If we have that energy going in with Jimmy, have it with Trey. Expect bumps and bruises. Expect that there's going to be some interceptions, some head scratching throws, because he's only going to be a first year starting quarterback. So
I want to point out, though, that Lance protects the football, at least he has protected the football better than Jimmy Garoppolo. He did in college. Last year, his turnover-worthy play percentage was slightly over half of what Jimmy's was. Again, limited action, but I don't think that we're going to see a high volume of mistakes in terms of turnovers from Trey Lance, because that's one of his better qualities, is protecting the football.
Right.
Some of the accuracy definitely needed to be cleaned up, and there will be some bumps and bruises, and that's that's kind of the thing you have to say to temper expectations and pressure on him. You don't want to come out and say, Kittle don't want to come out and say, oh, he's going to be perfect and he's going to blow the world up, because it just puts too much on him.
Exactly.
But I don't think that the kind of season that we saw from Justin Herbert as a rookie, that kind of protection is not out of the question. We won't throw at the volume that the Chargers do.
Right.
I expect somewhere around 500 passes, maybe slightly under, from Trey Lance this year. And I think that's kind of what makes the whole arm fitness thing laughable, is, our offense is not going to turn into, 40, 50 passes a game. That's just not how Shanahan works. And, if he's throwing 475, 500 passes, and you've got other young quarterbacks throwing 600 plus regularly, I don't think we should be worried too much about the strain on his arm.
Right. Yeah. And that's something, like, I'm a huge Josh Allen fan, and, that's something we see over there in Buffalo, is that, he's expected to have to throw 40 plus times a game because they have no help around him. It's like, it's up to him or nobody, so it's like, he don't have a running back, a competent running back to freaking hand off to. It's like, so he has to have that huge amount of throws. I'm sure, I don't know how many throws he had, the last couple seasons, but
yeah,
I would imagine that they're up there, and we know Shanahan loves to run the ball. That's his thing.
Yeah.
It's not going to matter if Jimmy's back there, if Cousins is back there, if freaking Trey's back there, we're going to run the ball. So,
exactly.
I mean, that's why I think people, seem to think now that we have somebody that can sling the ball, that, we're going to turn into this system that we're throwing 40 times a game.
Yeah.
And, we're going to change the system to fit Trey's, skill set, but we're still a run first team. Let's not forget about that.
Exactly. Yeah, it's not like Kyle Shanahan's going to turn into Andy Reid all of a sudden, and be like, oh, we're going to throw the ball this many times. But David, you made up a good point, because I feel like everybody likes to compare the Trey situation to the Patrick Mahomes situation. And you're right, because Patrick Mahomes came in, he had kind of a sidearm throwing motion, stuff like that. So people questioned it. I remember people questioning that Patrick Mahomes should have even been a top 10 pick. They were like, oh, he's second round talent, this, and that. But, when you win, it cures all. So I think with that after Patrick Mahomes came in his first season as a starter and threw like the 50 touchdowns, whatever the case may be, everybody has shut up about him. And I think you're right. I think Trey is going to be, I don't think he's going to blow the doors off, but I think people are going to be pleasantly surprised of the production that they see. And you're right about him being smart and protecting the ball, because you never see him make the same mistake twice. He always goes in, like, he'll throw an interception, he'll go back, you'll see him actually go to the sidelines and be looking at the playbook like, what did I miss? What did I mess up at? And you don't see him repeat those mistakes. So, yeah, I have high hopes for this kid. I mean, like I said, his interview today was awesome. I loved how he was just, like, on point, and, he sounds like a leader out there. The fact that when he went to the coaching staff and said, I want the phone number for every rookie that we drafted on this team, because I want to call them and wish them on this team. Like, that's leadership. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I love that.
Yeah.
And they asked him about that today, and he was, saying that, people reached out to him when he was drafted, so he just wanted to pay it forward. But I heard that even when he was in college, he did that same thing. And then his rookie year, even though he wasn't the starter, he still reached out to everybody that got drafted. Like he like put up a tweet or I don't know, Instagram. I don't have Instagram, whatever they are, messages over there, whatever. A post saying, like saying goodbye to every player that like had left the team. And like, that's when we talk about, all the time about him being raised right and having, all that support around him. That's when it really shows, like you can tell this guy, he's a good human being
Yep.
before anything else,
Absolutely.
Yes, and coming out of North Dakota State, there was plenty of that going around. Coaches and players and whispers about his work ethic, his leadership, what kind of character he was, and I contrast that back to Carson Wentz coming from the same university, where at the time it was eerily silent, and that was one of those times where I kind of noted the red flag of silence, where you expect to hear praise and you expect to hear, at least something, about their character and their personality and so on. And when you hear absolutely nothing, you start thinking, and, it turns out down the road, we figured out why there wasn't anything said, because, he's just not very likable and doesn't lead and doesn't take coaching and these things. And, it was the opposite with Lance coming out of the same place, where they were just bending over backwards to praise his personality. And so that gave me a lot of confidence in him.
Yeah. I think recently I heard an interview with the coach that he had during college. I don't know if that was on Jesse's channel, or I want to say it was, but I don't know for sure. But and this was, just like a month or so ago, and he was still ranting and raving about the great guy that Trey was, and how everybody there loved him, and that he, that even though, people say, I hear all the time that, they don't take, even though Trey had such a great season there and, they won and all this, that's always been a winning program. So Trey didn't do nothing that the quarterbacks before him weren't doing, because they always win. But his coach talked about how, Trey, from not what we all can see, but inside the building, turned around that program, and that everybody still to this, is still talking about him. Like everybody loves that kid, so, and I think, that's something that I've talked about before, is that the things that I couldn't stand about Jimmy are all the things that Trey Lance has, like where he's constantly working, that we can tell that he's a leader, where, he's just stepping up and doing shit that we didn't see Jimmy do all these years that he's been on the team, so yeah, I'm all about that.
Yeah. Did you see that report by Matt Miyoko where he was talking about Kittle and how he got the iPhone or whatever the case may be, and Jimmy hasn't texted him or talked to him all off season? Did you see that?
No, but I heard Kittle say that in this presser today.
Oh, see,
because
so
they asked him if he's talked to Jimmy, or when the last time that he talked to Jimmy was, and he said when they cleaned out their lockers. And he goes, but that's how Jimmy is during the off season. Like he tried to play it off afterwards,
yeah,
like that's how he is during the off season. Jimmy's off doing his thing, and then he goes, yeah, he even got me an iPhone, so we could talk to each other. He goes, but ever since he got it for me, he still don't answer, or whatever.
Texas, yep.
And it's like
Yep.
he's buying him a cell phone, like what? Like
Yeah.
that's what the weird part I thought about it. Like, why is Jimmy buying Kittle a fucking cell phone?
Yeah.
Jimmy was a leader. Players ran through the wall for him, but he was more of a quiet in terms of the media and public. He led in the locker room, and the guys loved him, but he wasn't. I don't think he wasn't the personality that Trey Lance is. And I think there are different ways to lead. I have heard the past few years that Jimmy does kind of disappear during the off season and doesn't really talk to anybody. And that isn't my preferred way of leading a team.
Right.
Absolutely.
But, I think it was pretty clear from the moment the season ended. They put Jimmy on the podium and he said goodbye, and it
Yeah.
was, I've never had any doubt from that moment that he was leaving, and his actions since then show that. I think there's a lot of worry for nothing about him being on the roster right now, and
Yeah.
they're going to try to trade him again once he can pass a physical. If that doesn't work, he's going to be released. He's not
Yeah.
going to be on the roster
No.
when the season starts. They didn't pay Sudfeld $2 million guaranteed,
Or
because
draft
or
Brock
draft
Purdy.
or
Exactly.
draft Brock Purdy. I mean,
Exactly.
these are not moves you make if you're even thinking about keeping Jimmy Garoppolo. You don't give guaranteed money to third quarterbacks anymore.
Exactly. I agree.
And that's the thing, like I'm with you. Like, I have no fear that Jimmy's going to be on this team. Like, I could care less. He's not going to be here, but what was I going to freaking say? Shit. I started watching a Red Bull commercial and totally lost my train of thought. I don't know.
No, it's okay. And
It'll
I
come
think,
back.
yeah, it's okay. Yeah, so I just think this is one of those things too. Yeah, I had no doubt either. I think most of the complaints that I heard was we didn't get rid of him soon enough. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
we're worried about, people were worried about the cap space and who we could have signed. Like, people wanted pass rusher, whatever the case may be. So I think that's where a lot of the worrying was about. But yeah, as far as being on the team, to be the starter or to compete with Trey, I never had no issue with that because I knew that wasn't happening.
And I think people were operating under this false assumption that had Jimmy been traded, we were going to go on some kind of free agent spending spree, and that's not really the way they operate. They'll dabble a little bit to fill, one need here, one need there. But even if he had been traded, I don't think they would have gone and done a whole lot differently this offseason. They went out and addressed our biggest weaknesses. The special teams significantly upgraded. We got a top corner. We were severely lacking, and I think they were pretty happy with that. And the cap space we'll save by letting Jimmy go is probably going to go to retaining our own players, which is the Niners' MO, and it's a smart way to build a team. Spending money on outside free agents is not smart cap management generally.
Yeah, that's something that 49ers usually don't do anyway. Like you said, of course, we went after Trent Williams, but of course we traded for him and then did what we had to do to keep him and stuff like that. But as far as giving out huge contracts, that's not usually what we do. We usually do that to our in-house players. So I think the last big move we kind of made was that D Ford move, but other than that, that's true, Miriah. He's about to talk trash and you forgot what you were gonna say. But no, yeah, I think that's what it comes down to. So yeah, I didn't think, like, everybody kept saying, oh, Chandler Jones and this is, I'm like, we're not getting him even if Jimmy's not on this team, because of simple fact, like, we have Debo and Nick Bosa coming up. So there's no way we're paying Chandler Jones on $17 million than paying Debo and Bosa. So yeah, I agree. It wasn't really no huge moves to be made. So yeah, that's not the Niners. That's not what Prague and them do. So
Right.
And,
Go ahead.
Not just looking at this year, but they're planning 2, 3, 4 years down the line in terms of cap management. So you have Debo, you have Bosa, but come next spring, Ayuk's up for an extension. Both we'll have to make a decision on either Greenlaw or Al-Shaair, who are
absolutely
both free agents, and I would hope that we plan on retaining one of them. And Jimmy Ward, and there's a number of guys who are in line to be paid or replaced, and so they have to play the long game with the cap management. And signing guys who are 30 or near 30 and up to long-term contracts is just not good business.
Yeah, what's crazy too? Speaking of like the cap space, like, we don't even have the room right now to sign some of our draft picks. Like, I saw this article where like a lot of the draft picks haven't been signed. Like Danny Gray hasn't been signed.
We
and
haven't
stuff
signed
like that.
any of them.
Yeah, so I think, so bringing up the Jimmy Ward thing, I truly believe he's going to get an extension here pretty soon. so we can free up some cap, so we can start signing some of these draft picks because and it sucks because they're out there, OTAs are busting their tail, and they can get hurt. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Without a contract. So I think something's going to have to be done here pretty soon, like sooner than later. If I'm a rookie, I understand. I feel blessed that you gave me the opportunity, but I'm not going to be out there in 4 or 5 weeks busting my tail and I'm not getting paid. So something's gonna have to give here pretty soon. But D Ford, I don't know if you had this in the topic, Miriah, like he's getting ready to supposedly be cut, whatever the case may be. And then we have, like I said, I feel like Jimmy Ward will probably get an extension because he's making 12 million this year. I think they'll probably turn that into bonus money or something like that, just so we can sign the rookies and then put it and then kind of backloaded because we talked about this before. I think Jimmy Ward, I want him to stay here. I want him to retire a Niner because
Yeah.
he's overcome so much adversity. His first few years with the Niners, he was hurt. Everybody was talking about get rid of him. Like everybody wanted him to go. They thought like keeping him was a mistake, but he's turned it around. He's remained healthy. He's he's probably the first or second leader on that defense. You know what I mean? So yeah, I feel like something's going to have to give here pretty soon. So if Jimmy's going to end up staying on his roster until late July or whatever the case may be, then we're going to have to do some extensions. Somebody's probably going to get traded or cut, something like that. Like you brought it up, Miriah, about Ebelcom, him
Yeah.
making $6.5 million a year with all these pass rushers. He might be the odd man out. Like, hey, I need to free up some cap, so you're gone. You know what I mean? So it's going to be interesting the next couple of weeks, but we're going to have to do something.
You mentioned the extension of Ward, which is one way to do it. A restructure for Trent Williams could save us, somewhere over $4 million, and that's one route. Also, Ebicom can either be released, as you mentioned, or even given an extension or void years to spread out his cap hit. So there's a few ways that you can do it, but yeah, my preference would be to give a couple more years to Jimmy Ward. He's a vital part of that secondary, and he's still, I think, 29, so he's got a good 3 years left in his tank, I think.
Yeah, absolutely.
I would hate to see us, Jimmy Ward being our longest tenured 49er on the team, been with us through all this shit, us changing him positions and making him play all out of position and everything that he's had to go through, and then us letting him go to another team, and finish out the last 2 years of his career, that would be such a shame.
It
Like
really
I would hate to see that.
Yeah.
And yeah, like I wasn't a huge Jimmy Ward fan, before, because obviously he was playing like shit because he was playing all out of position, but I love the player and the person that, Jimmy Ward has turned into, and the guy that we're seeing now, that gets up there and talks shit and, like, I love that, like we needed that in our defense. Somebody that's out there, talking shit to players and, telling the coaches of the opposite team to freaking throw his way and all that. Like, I think we definitely needed that. And, like, I love to see him, turn into that guy.
Yeah,
like, even
absolutely.
today in his presser, he was talking about, since he you guys keeps talking about, I didn't
Not
see what
yet,
happened.
Cheese.
I didn't do this.
I'll explain that to you. It's pretty
Uh-huh.
funny. Go ahead. You can go ahead and finish your point. Yeah, it's pretty funny.
Yeah, he was talking in the presser today and said, speaking of Grant, ever since he went on Grant's show, that he's turned into a villain, like that everybody in the league that, thinks of him as like this villain now. It's cracking up.
Yeah, it's super funny. But yeah, like you said about Jimmy Ward, like he wants all the smoke.
Yep.
He's been talking about DK Metcalf, like he just like, yeah, like it's so funny to me. I'm like, where did this dude come from?
I know.
So but yeah, I love it. And Carly, I'm glad I was me and you had the great minds thinking alike, man, because like Miriah just said, she just she said it perfectly. For all the stuff Jimmy Ward has been through and all this stuff, it'd be a travesty for him just to walk and, be like, I mean, the man turned down more money from the Raiders to stay with us. Like,
Yeah.
like he really wants to be a 49er. So treat him like a Joe Staley. Treat him. I'm not saying he's in that caliber. I'm just saying, as far as a player, treat him like the Bryant Youngs. Treat him like the Joe Staleys, like the people who you drafted and has been great locker room guys who never gotten in any trouble. Like the man, he's just like the perfect type of role model. I feel like, as far as his off the field and on the field antics. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, it'd be a shame if he left.
Yeah, and turning down the Raiders to stay with the Niners is automatic legend status in my book.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely, I agree.
Before you explain about Kinlaw and Grant, we didn't say what's up to the people, so let me just say what's up to them real quick. Joel, my brother from Guam, appreciate you being the first one in the door. Callie, of course. Collie, the great Collie. Tia, Mike Ing, Peachy, Tanya, Sin, appreciate you ladies. Swan Song, of course. Can't have a show without Swan Song being in the
I
building.
know. Yep.
Joey, NY, NY in the house.
The 49er
Uh,
Gang 916.
David. Oh, yeah. He's here too. And it's, I didn't make it that far yet, maybe. Oh, there he is. 49er Gang 916. Cheese. All right. Back to Cheese's comment now.
So the story's probably not going to sound as amazing as it could because I don't cuss. But to make a long story short,
You tell it and then I'll retell it.
yeah, you can retell it. So Grant was on the field and he said that they can be on the field to like report and stuff like that, but they're not allowed to talk to the players. But the players can talk to them if they choose. So he said he was standing about 70 yards away from Javon Kinlaw. Javon Kinlaw saw him on the field. So Javon Kinlaw walks up to Grant, gets behind his left shoulder, and says, "You're a B." He called Grant the B word.
Mhm.
And Grant was like, "What?" And he was like, "Yeah." He's like, pretty much like, "Yeah, you heard what I said. You're a B." Then he gets in front of him and knocks his hat off and knocks his hat off on the ground.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, like it knocks his hat off on the ground. So then Grant went on this rant on his channel, was just like, I don't know what the heck it was. He was like, and then he was, how Grant is. He was kind of being sarcastic. He was like, I don't know what it is, Kinlaw. Is it me telling the fact that we should have drafted Tristan Wirfs in front of you? Was it the simple fact that you haven't lived up to expectations? Was it the fact that he was just naming all the stuff that he hasn't done yet as a
Yeah.
player? And then so he was just like, but I feel like like he's pretty much was like, I'm on cloud nine. Like I did my job. For him to be this upset, for him to come up to me to call me the B word and knock my hat off. He goes, I haven't had my hat knocked off since elementary school when somebody was trying to fight me. So he was just like, it was just amazing that he came up to me and knocked my hat off and called me that name, and then he walked off. Like I was just like,
Wow. I'm
wow, yeah,
surprised that a player would actually do that,
yeah,
especially like to touch him, like,
yeah.
wow.
Yeah,
That's,
if you have like how Grant has his show, but like he has a little clip and it says something. I forgot what his title pretty much like Javon. Oh yes, that's what look at Callie's comment. That's what he called him. Yep. That's what he called him.
Mhm.
damn.
So
That's
yeah, and then
crazy.
so yeah, if you go to Grant's clip, it's probably like about a 4 or 5 minute clip, and he's talking about what Kinlaw did to him. It's pretty funny. So I'm just like, that's just crazy
Um,
how that was allowed, though. You know what I mean?
yeah.
So yeah,
Um, yeah, Grant, he gets off on that, so that just made his fucking day. He's just gonna ride him even worse the entire freaking
oh
season.
for sure. And then the
Kinlaw has
views
it
were
coming to him now.
amazing.
Of
Like
course.
the views, because it was like, oh, let me see what Kinlaw had to say to you. So the views were amazing. So all it did was getting Grant more clicks,
Woo.
and then and everybody was saying like, well, Kinlaw, if you want Grant to shut up, then produce on the field. If it's that bad, produce on the field. But so yeah, it was funny, Miriah. You got to check it out.
Yeah.
Um, and it says a lot about who Grant is that he was happy with that. He's the local version of a Skip Bayless, and these hot take artists that they don't even mean half of what they say, and it's all about stirring people up for interactions
Yep.
and ratings and stuff. And maybe I'm showing my age in here, but I I miss the days of real football analysis and insightful opinions and quality content, and a lot of the sports media has just gravitated towards the Bayless type Stephen A. Smith stuff where it's just spouting nonsense for entertainment and attention. That's not really my style. I mean, whatever works for them, I guess. But I really miss being able to turn on ESPN and get really quality, insightful analysis where you learn something.
Right.
Yeah, well, this is what I will say, because me and Mariah are big fans of Grant. A lot of people don't like him because they feel like he's negative, but a lot of the stuff he says actually comes true. Like he'll say stuff and people be like this. However, let's be honest here. There's just a lot of people who like chaos. a lot of people like to go on the ESPN and hear debates and arguments and stuff like that. That's why you get all. I mean, look at when Ryan Clark and all these other guys were talking about Jimmy being the better quarterback and the 49ers should keep him. Look how much it was talked about on Twitter. I don't have Facebook, I don't have Instagram, all this other stuff, but just how much it was talked about on Twitter. Just imagine the other platforms. So
Okay.
people were just sitting there. So all it does is give these guys, these clicks and these rankings. So I get your point, but who was happy about all these clicks is Grant and his wife, because he's getting nothing but donations and all this other stuff. So yeah, I get it. But like I said, a lot of people, I think Grant, I'm not saying with you, I think a lot of people give Grant a lot of unnecessary hate, because a lot of fans, all they want to hear is optimism. All they want to hear is, oh, this is how good this team's going to be. But like, he had a show with his dad about a week and a half ago, and he said the Niners were going to go 8-9. People had an outcry. What, 8-9? You're crazy, and this and that. But it's like, that's his opinion. If he has that opinion, I mean, he predicted us to go 10-7 last year, and it happened. But people thought, oh no, you're crazy, 12-5, and okay, well, no, it didn't happen. So I get your point, because I'm a little old school too. Like, I like the good football talk and stuff like that. But we're just in a new era where, like I said, people love chaos, and unfortunately, bad takes sometimes it get you more clicks and likes and stuff like that. So that's just the way it is.
Oh yeah, no, there's a good reason they're doing it, and it drives ratings and interactions, and sports fans are very emotional. And, if you can get under their skin and upset them, then they're going to be glued to it and responding to you and chirping back at you. And,
Yep.
It's definitely good for ratings and good for interactions and good for their paychecks. But,
Yeah.
I still miss, more quality content. And I'm not really just trying to single out Grant here.
Yeah.
He's
Just
not
everybody,
he's not the worst of the offenders by any
Right.
means. And he does, speak truth, fairly often, but he's abrasive, and and that's his thing. And I don't want to see optimism all the time. I want to see the truth.
Exactly.
I'm going to tell you, if I think somebody's not good, I'm going to tell you they're not good. And if I think they're good, I'm going to tell you they are. And there's a lot of years where I was very down on the Niners. I said, we're bad and we're gonna lose. And I felt last season we probably wouldn't have been a 7-loss team if we didn't continue to have really bad injury luck. I think something that's been flown under the radar was that we still had the 4th most injuries in the NFL last year. It wasn't the historic 2020 level injuries, but we still had a lot of missed time due to injuries. And a more healthy team, I think, probably does win 12 or 13 games,
possibly, or better quarterback play.
Oh, that certainly.
So, but you're right though. I mean, week 1 we lose our starting corner and starting running back. Week 1, like out the gate, we had injuries. So yeah, you're right. So, but yeah, and you make a good point about the the national media and stuff like that too, because I was Fox Sports, Colin Cowherd every morning, First Take, Good Morning Football. Like, even they have gotten, even to me, they've gone downhill a little bit. Like, they used to be better, but now they're getting a little bit kind of like out there too. So honestly, YouTube has replaced all my sports stuff. Like, I watch more YouTube and other people's content more than I do these, the stuff on ESPN and stuff like that. To me, it's just not enjoyable. You know what I mean? So.
And the good thing with that is, and like Callie's saying, and which I'm well aware of, that Grant's not his favorite person to watch, but that's the good thing about it these days, is that we have so many options. So I don't want to open YouTube or wherever I'm going to get my talk from, and every channel, every person on there be exactly the same, telling me the same exact shit.
Exactly.
Like, that's why I tune into Grant, because he's so much different and more entertaining than most of the channels out there.
I agree.
And to each their own. Like,
absolutely.
Like Kelly said. Troy, much love, brother. And then Aaron brought up a good point here. Where did it go? And I think that we've seen this last, during probably OTAs or training camp. I forget when it was last year. About it being talked about a lot, about Kinlaw off on the side by himself, or Kinlaw, like throwing what looked like a tantrum and going into the locker room. And it seems like Kinlaw is definitely a very emotional person. well, I'll say I won't say weak minded, but like he's been homeless and he's been through all this shit. So I'm not about to say that, but he's definitely very emotional, and that really shocks me still that he would go put his hands on somebody.
I, I, I think that
That's crazy.
we miss sometimes that these are human beings,
Yep.
no different than you or me or anybody else. These players are not robots. They're not video game characters. They're not avatars somewhere. They're human beings with feelings and personalities of their own. And the stuff that we say about them, and especially the bigger people say about them, it hits home and it affects some people more than others. But not everybody is able to just brush everything off and not have it affect them. Sometimes it affects their mental health, just like it will any other person. And I think we dehumanize athletes a little bit too much for my liking. Like the situation when Dwayne Haskins died, in the first, right in the announcement, he's talking about his career struggles and things like that. And that just
Yep.
really upset me. That we forget they're humans and we treat them like humans with respect.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I agree with you, Mariah. I wouldn't say weak minded because the man, he was homeless and stuff like that, so he had to go through some kind of adversity. You know what I mean, to be where he's at. But I will say a bit sensitive because you have to block out that noise. Like to me, and I get it. Like they are human. Some of them are gonna react different, stuff like that. But at the same time, you have to have a higher standard of how you're gonna act. Like like you look at Kinlaw and then you look at Trey. I was a perfect
Mhm.
example. Like you don't see Trey going up to people and saying, "Hey, why you do this?" Like David Lombardi has said so much negative stuff about Trey because he was a big advocate for Jimmy. You don't see him Trey going on the field like, "Hey, David, let me holler at you." You know what I mean? And like pulling him to So
Yeah.
it's just one of those things where I just feel like you have to. And everybody is different. I'm not saying everybody has to be alike, but if anything, if I'm Kinlaw, I cancel all that noise. Okay, this is what I'm gonna do. Everybody wants to talk. The best revenge is silence. Like just be silent out there and go out there and take care of business, because then people will shut their mouths and be like, man, like I was wrong. And there's people out there who will say, I was wrong about Kinlaw, because people, I think 50-50 are on Kinlaw right now. There's some people like me, I'm one of those. I'm on the mindset of I think he's going to be good this year. I think he's going to go out there and do his thing. It's kind of sucks that they said that he won't be ready till training camp. I don't know if you saw that, Mariah and David, but I'm just like,
Yeah.
man, like he's still not ready. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, if he's gonna be ready by training camp, I do think this is his year. And I'm not saying Pro Bowl. I think we brought him in as somebody who can stop the run and take on two blockers. He's pretty much, his job is for all the pass rushers to go in there and eat. You know what I mean? Like kind of like the Justin Smith type role. Remember when Justin Smith was here, the
Yep.
Cowboy? He took on 2 and 3 guys and let Alden Smith and Lombard Brooks do their thing. You know what I mean? So
Hmm.
that's what I think that Javon Kinlaw's job is to do. So, but yeah, I wouldn't say weak minded. Everybody has their own opinion, but I do say a bit sensitive. Like he should not let somebody like Grant Cohn, like you know what I mean, like get him off his game. Like
Yeah.
to me, it does show a little bit of sensitivity. So that's
Yeah,
what I'll say about that. Yeah.
I'm not saying that the way he handled it was right, or that
Mhm.
that being overly sensitive or not being able to block things out won't have a negative impact or can't have a negative impact on one's career. It can, um, you know, but you just they're still humans, and
Yeah.
they're going to make mistakes, and he's still a young guy, and you can't be putting your hands on people, and
Yeah. That.
you that's over the line. And he is going to have to learn how to block stuff out and focus on his job if he wants to be successful.
Yeah.
But you know I can also feel where he was coming from at the same time, even if it's not necessarily the right way to handle it, or
Yeah. Well,
you
here's
know
my issue with it. He did this. Okay, he knocked off Grant's hat. What's going to happen the next time he gets pissed off? Are you going to go overboard and now maybe put your hands on him or punch him in his face? Like, you know what I'm saying? So there has to be a level of like, okay, I need to hold it together. And I think a lot of it too is people, they look at somebody like a Javon Kinlaw, 6'5", 300 something pounds. They think that they look at his stature and be like, oh, like dude, you're a grown man. Why you be so sensitive? Like if I bet you if Grant said that, I bet you if somebody like a Robbie Gold did something like that, it probably wouldn't have been as funny because it's like, oh, it's
Yeah.
Robbie Gold, you know what I mean, something like that. But you look at Kinlaw being this massive dude, and then going up to Grant Cone. I never met the guy in person. He's probably like 5'9", 5'10", whatever the case may be, and then him getting pissed off and knocking his head off. So it's like if I'm the coaching staff, I'm saying something to him.
Mm-hmm.
Hey man, you need to chill. Like, you need to control your emotions, because what's going to happen the next time somebody pisses you off? Because, you know, like with any other things, it starts off small, but then all of a sudden you start, like, like a thief goes to jail or whatever. Let's just say a thief goes to jail. It starts off usually by stealing something small. Oh, okay, I got away with it, and then they keep doing it until they get caught. And I was like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
using it as an analogy, but you know what I'm saying? Like, you have to learn how to control that and be like, okay, look, I put my hands on him. I went behind him. I knocked his hat off. I called him whatever the word he said, whatever call he said. But it's just like one of those things where it's like, dude, you need to calm down. But yeah, if I'm like Chris Kasarik and them, hey bro, let me holler at you. You need to control your emotions. Like, don't let these people get to you. So yeah.
I guarantee you,
Oh.
he's going to get spoken to about that.
Oh, absolutely.
Guarantee
Should.
it.
Yeah.
It's already happened.
Memphis May, and I appreciate you for stopping by, showing love, subscribing. 49ers throwback, Kali. I appreciate you guys stopping by. Enjoy NBN. Poppy Pablo XXX, appreciate you coming by. I did want to, we've been here 50 minutes already, so I did want to touch on Matt Mayuko. Tweeted out earlier that the 49ers went through a helmetless 11-on-11 session to end a 90-minute practice. Trey Lance was 15 of 17 in 7-on-7 work, for those who are keeping a spreadsheet to document all this important information. So you were talking about, Trey Lance, he could have called out David Lombardi for, hating on him all season. And I think that's funny that Matt, throws out the spreadsheet there in his tweet. So I'm sure Lombardi's hating that, he don't have Jimmy G there to be in his lap all day, but so it seems, from what we heard, of course, nobody's going to get up there and talk shit about, Trey and their presser, but even from the way Kyle was talking and the things he was saying, it was completely different than last season this time. Like when we were all wondering, is it really a competition? Is it going to be Trey? Is it going to be Jimmy? Like, there's no doubt, like, I understand, Jimmy obviously can't throw yet and whatever, so he's not going to be there regardless. But there's no doubt in my mind, if there was even 1% before, that Trey's the guy now. Like the way Shanahan spoke about him, the way his team spoke about him, that he's being a leader, the way Trey talked, that he's more comfortable now being a leader, that, he didn't say that Jimmy's not there, but I mean, you just fill in the blank. So yeah, like, what are you guys expecting through the rest of OTAs? But to wrap up, what are your thoughts on how OTAs went and what everybody had to say if you were able to listen to the pressers?
Go ahead, David.
Like you said, it's clear that this is Trey's team, that guys are buying into him. He's, from what limited I saw of him, he looks sharp. I'm wondering if all the offseason work that Ayuk and Jennings have done with Trey Lance, and now here we're into OTAs and potentially could drag into training camp, and they're getting all this work, and Debo is on sidelined. How that might play into the regular season. They're building a rapport with Trey. It's getting stronger and stronger. Does Ayuk kind of become the favored target? When the season rolls around, or is Debo just good enough that it's not going to make any difference? I'm really curious to see how that plays out, because it looks like they're really building a strong relationship there, and that is important. When you start getting under pressure and in tight situations, you go where you're comfortable, and
Yep.
He's building comfort, with these guys and not with Debo, and you wonder if that, will actually impact them.
Yeah, I totally think that. And I thought last year, Ayuk was going to be the guy. To be honest, like I thought Ayuk, and because the way he played in 2020, like he looked great. You know what I mean? So I thought, man, he's going to be the man. But obviously, Debo, exceeded expectations like you wouldn't believe. You know what I mean? It was a contract year, so he went out there and balled. Yeah, you're right. I mean, getting all these reps with Juwan Jennings and Ayuk to me is huge because the simple fact is you might be right. Is Debo just that good where he can just come in and pick up where he left off? If so, great. So yeah, I'm loving these reports and stuff like that. Trey going 15 for 17 is amazing. Was there any interceptions in there? Because
Not that it
no,
said.
okay, yeah, okay, well, good. You know what I mean? So that just goes to show you right there how well he's throwing that football. And even if there was, it's still a great stat, 15 for 17. Um, to go on OTAs, I want to hear some more reports about one because you don't know me that much, David, but I played football from Pop Warner all the way to junior college, and I played some linebacker. And linebacker and fullback are my favorite positions on a football team. Like if I could be a scout, I'd be a linebacker scout for an NFL team. That's just how much I love that position. So the two things I think I'm looking forward to is looking at the development of these linebackers that came in. I mean, we got three undrafted guys, and one of them runs like a 4.3 something. Like I think the guy from San Diego State. And D'Amico Ryan's just his history of developing these linebackers, Aziz, Flanagan, Foles, Dre Greenlaw. You know what I mean? He just done so much. So I wouldn't be surprised if there's a situation where in training camp if one of these dudes excel, because like you said, we have to make a decision, Aziz or Greenlaw. Can't pay them both. So there might be a position if like one of these linebackers come out and ball, or like a Flanagan Foles takes a step because he's another one who was undrafted who's been on this team for like this going on his fourth year. So he could be one of those guys that steps up and they're like, you know what, he's going to be cheaper. Let's get rid of Dre Greenlaw for a fourth round pick in training camp. But I think the position group I want to hear the most about. I want to hear how much they're improving and having some camaraderie and stuff like that is an offensive line.
Mm-hmm.
That's my biggest issue right now because I want some continuity there. We're talking about this on the last with the locker room rant with JV, and we all agree we're talking about other than quarterback was the most position group, and we're like offensive line for sure because of that continuity. And then you got Trey coming in the second year when you protect him. So I hope one of these guys like a Colton McKivett, somebody, he's going on his third season on this team. He played well when Trent Williams was hurt. So I'm looking for someone like a Colton McKivitz to take that next step and push to get into that starting lineup if Mike McGlinchey is still hurt or whatever the case may be. And two, we still don't know what's going on with Alex Mack because he's not there. He's not there at OTAs. So somebody like a Jake Brindle, is he stepping up, taking all the first team reps? So it's going to be interesting, man. That offensive line is really like my main priority right now because I feel like everybody else is in place. Like, we got a veteran corner, like you said, in Charvarius Ward. Our linebackers are set. Our pass rush, I'm not worried about because we have the best defensive line coach in football. I'm just worried about, like I said, I want to see the development of linebackers and I want to see how good these offensive linemen are.
I think they're very comfortable with Aaron Banks more than the fans are stepping in at left guard. I know we didn't really see him last year, but from Kyle's comments that he felt he was ready, right around week 10 or week 11 to step in and start, but they started winning, and so they kind of decided not to disrupt anything. So I think they're comfortable with Aaron Banks. And the part that I haven't heard people talk about much is he mentioned Jalen Moore competing at right guard. So that's, I'm curious to see how that plays out.
Yeah.
Obviously, we want Alex Mack back. I'm not really looking forward to the idea of Daniel Brunskill starting again this year, whether it's guard or center. The pass protection is really, really poor. And so, I'm hoping that we see, Jalen step in and take over that right guard spot and be productive there. But yeah, it is the one position with the most question marks, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, and you talked about the linebackers. We just heard today that Aziz had shoulder and knee surgery during the offseason. So, that's two big surgeries. Like, we don't know how he's even going to be when he comes back.
It's true.
Or if he's going to be ready, they can say, oh, I'm expecting the whole team to be ready by training camp, but come on now. Like, that's not real expectations. So yeah, I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the linebackers there. They said that Alex Mack's not even in the country.
Exactly.
So,
Yeah. So
but Shanahan was asked about it, and he said, "Well, nothing's changed since I told you guys last." He goes, "I know what the decision is, and I'm sure you guys do too." That's what he said.
that what he
So,
said? Oh
yeah.
wow.
So I don't know if that means he is coming back or he's not coming back.
That's tough.
And
Yeah, I
Kittle
mean,
said Kittle went to the wedding and was there with him, and
mm,
I mean, he made it. He's like, if he comes back, we all, of course, want him here. But if not, he's put it in the career that he has, and can hang it up if he
he's been
feels
playing
like
a
it.
long
So
time too. He's been playing for what is it like in the 17th season or something like that? He's been playing for a long time.
13, I think.
13,
Is that how long
yeah,
it was? Yeah, he's been playing
yeah.
for what is he like 36?
I don't know, but
He's old. He's up there. So yeah.
He's
So
good.
yeah. I mean, hopefully somebody like Jake Brendel, like I said, the only thing about that Donovan West guy is he's a rookie. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? And I feel like Kyle does not like to put in rookies on the offensive line, especially at
yeah,
center. Like
yeah,
that's huge. But hopefully
yeah.
undrafted rookie.
undrafted rookie at
Mhm.
that. So hopefully Jake Brendel, he spent a full year on the practice squad and he was the one that they protected a lot all year. So that's a good
Mhm.
thing to know that he was protected. So I think they just know, like, okay, so maybe he's sitting in the background. He's a little bit older, too. I didn't realize he was like 28, 29 years old already. He's been in the league, I guess, for a while, just being like a journeyman. So, like, if he's been in the league for a while, he has the reps or at least the veteran presence or whatever the case may be. He sat on the practice squad for a year, learning behind Alex Mack. So maybe that could be okay, but it's Alex Mack. So it's a Pro Bowl
Mhm.
center who's been to numerous Pro Bowls. So that's hard to replace. But I'm with you, David. I'm not really too worried about Aaron Banks. I feel like he'll be fine. I feel like, he's going to his natural position. And me and Miriah said it probably like week 10, week 11, after, he wasn't playing much. I was like, man, you know what? I go, maybe he was drafted because they know they can't re sign Tomlinson. Remember, we kept saying that, Miriah, where
Mhm.
we're like,
Mhm.
man, I think he's his replacement because I just don't see him. Because everybody kept saying, oh, he's going to play right guard. I was like, I don't think so. I'm like, the fact that they're grooming him, they want him to play on that left side where he played at it in college. So the left
Mhm.
side is the least of my worries. It's right guard and right tackle because, like you said, right tackle with Mike McGlinchey, who knows how much he's been working out? Is he squatting? Is he doing the stuff to have his leg strength for leverage? You know what I'm saying? Yeah, I see he's running, but at the same time, like, how is his strength? And then, like you said, you got Jalen Moore who's competing. I thought he played well in the limited action he saw. Colton
Yeah.
McKivitz played well when Trent Williams was hurt. So
Mhm.
maybe that's a situation where we can be like, okay, Colton McKivitz and Jalen Moore, you guys are starting that right side. However, Daniel Brunskill's not just going to lay down. And
No,
Kyle trusts that man. You know what I mean? Like him and Tom Compton were like his guys that he trusted as a veteran presence. So
I
no,
think he said Brunskill had surgery too.
did he?
Yeah,
Oh, I didn't know
there's
that.
a freaking whole list of people,
yeah,
Oh
and they're
wow.
all supposed to be back by training camp, along with Mike
Mm.
McGlinchey, and it's like, yeah, we'll
I
see.
wonder if he's just doing that because he wants these young guys to get all the reps, like Spencer Burford and Nick Sakelj and all these young guys. Like, okay, like I know what Mike McGlinchey is, I know what Daniel Brunskill is, so let's get these young guys, in there. And it says something too because we always talk about the 49ers not really hitting on offensive line. You know what I mean? Like I think that position's been one of their worst drafted positions. I don't think we've drafted a Pro Bowl offensive line since like Anthony Davis and Mike Iupati. You know what I mean? It's been a
Mhm.
long time since we drafted any good offensive lineman. Everybody's been coming in as free agents or trades. So the fact that they drafted Banks, Moore, Colton McKivitz, Spencer Burford, and Nick Sakelj, 5 offensive linemen in the last 3 years.
Yeah,
Somebody's going to have to step up.
right.
yep.
Yeah, and I do feel like if Alex Mack retires, it's most likely going to be Brunskill at center, just based on his experience and the trust that Kyle has in him. But obviously, I'd prefer that Mack is back.
For
Um,
sure.
I'm trying to see if I can find who played offensive line today.
Mm.
I did see you asked about an interception, and the only one I can see that mentioned was from Brock Purdy.
Oh, okay.
Was a pass to Davis Price and was intercepted by Quantrez Knight.
Mm.
Best catch of the day, Juwan Jennings high pointed a ball from Trey Lance.
He's going to be my sleeper on
mhm.
offense. I just have
Yeah.
a feeling he's going to take this. He's going into his 3rd year. I think he's
Mhm.
going to take that big leap, and I think that slot position is his to
Mhm.
lose. He's definitely going to be the third receiver. I know Danny Gray's been playing well and stuff, but it's going to take him a while to be able to catch up with Juwan Jennings. And I think Juwan Jennings, he slimmed down a little bit too, from what I saw. So he slimmed down, so maybe he gets him a little bit faster. I tweeted the other day on Twitter saying that he kind of reminds me of Marcus Colston. That big body receiver who was, like a late round pick, a 7th round pick. I think Juwan was 6th rounder. No, I think he was 7th too.
7.
So like a 7th round pick, like Marcus Colston is going to come in his 3rd year and kind of just open up space. And people just think he's a red zone threat. I disagree, because there was a lot of times he was open down the field. It's just, he wasn't looked at or whatever the case may be. So I have high hopes for Juwan Jennings. He's my sleeper on offense, and Ambry Thomas is my sleeper on defense.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I wanted to touch on Ambry. He improved dramatically from the low in Tennessee to the high in Dallas, where he was really excellent. And I think he's a candidate to break out big on defense. Jennings, I think, as you said, is locked down that 3rd spot. I expect that Gray is probably going to be the 5th receiver this year. He's
after Ray.
After Ray, yeah. He's a bit raw, and a lot of talent, but he's going to have to work on his route running and polish. And receivers take a little bit of time usually to develop. So I expect Ray will probably be the number 4, at least initially.
Yeah, I agree. I think so too. I think starting off is going to be Danny Gray as a 5th. He's going to have to work his way up. He definitely has more talent than Ray, for sure. And who knows, like I said, I think it's more about, he's going to have to put on a little bit more weight. I mean, I know his job is going to be to stretch the field. But, because I think he's listed at like 6 foot, 185 pounds. So he's definitely going to be like that Will Fuller type. Just go beat everybody deep to clear up space for everybody else. But, if he gets to like 195 or so, I think by year 2, he should be pretty good. I mean, the fact that he's already saying no block, no rock, like he knows the assignment. He knows if you're not blocking, you're not playing. So, and he understands that assignment as a young guy. So, and that's awesome. And two people forget too. I know he's a little bit unpolished, but he's already like 23 years old. He's kind of like a little bit older for a rookie. So hopefully hopefully by year 2 he makes a big jump, just kind of like Juwan Jennings did. But Ray McLeod, he's another one too who has the NFL experience. Has snaps and stuff, and he's fast too. So he's another burner. I call him. He's the 49ers version of Taylor Gabriel. When Taylor Gabriel was with Atlanta with Kyle, he used him as his little smaller, shifty guy to go deep. So I feel like that's going to be his job too. So it's going to be interesting, man.
Yes, and Lance building that rapport with Jennings, I think, is going to show in the season. He started to come on late in the year and make some big plays for us, and I think that rapport that he's building with Lance is going to prove to be huge for him in this year. I expect that he'll put up, somewhere 600, 700, 800 yards this year.
That sounds doable,
I hope
for sure.
So. Yeah,
that sounds doable. And Miriah, I keep forgetting about your guy. Good point, David. You got another guy named Jason Poe who you really like. I don't think he initially makes the 55-man roster. Because now, and you're right, Miriah, this is the year it goes to 55 instead of 53, which is great news. I love that we can keep it. I know it's only two more players, but that's huge to me.
Yeah.
So you can keep an extra offensive lineman or the extra wide receiver, extra running back, whatever, the position we usually get hurt at the most. Yeah. So the fact we can keep 55 men on the roster now, I hope Jason Poe, and me and Miriah looked it up the other day. So every week you can protect 4 players on your practice squad. So hopefully with Jason Poe, if he shows that much promise, he's a guy who's on a practice squad, and you protect him every single week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's what they drafted Purdy to fill that role that Sudfeld did, that protected practice squad quarterback. I think there's a couple of other guys who are in that mix. Donovan West could play a similar role, protected practice squad guy. It's going to be interesting to see how the numbers play out. I think we have something like 11 or 12 defensive linemen right now, 13.
Yeah.
It's going to be, there's going to be some brutal attrition there. Corner that went from this huge area of weakness and last year, and now you look at it and you're wondering how all these guys are going to make the team. you know, we
Somebody
draft.
like Demo, like Dominic Lenore, he might be in trouble.
Yeah,
Honestly, like he
yeah.
might be in trouble, and we drafted him a year ago. So
Mhm.
yeah, it's crazy. I mean, like we said, if Jason Verrett, if he can give you 70% of what he used to be,
Oh
if
yeah.
he's your fourth corner, you're doing good.
Yeah, no, I think if he's healthy, he's going to start. I mean,
Yeah,
he
I do too.
2 years ago he was cornerback one and was incredible. If he's healthy, he's going to be out there starting, alongside Travarius Ward.
Hmm.
I think, we could, if healthy, we could end up seeing somebody like Mosley as the fourth corner, which is just
Yeah,
insane.
that is. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
you're
A
right.
really insane amount of depth, and we've got, obviously the two rookies this year,
Two rookies,
Womack
Dominic
and
Lenore, Dante Johnson, who
Dante
can never
Johnson, who
leave this team. He
right.
finds a way to end up on here every year. So
Yeah, he's going to be on the team. So that's
for
one
real,
roster
Miriah.
spot taken.
Yeah.
He's like but yeah. So it's crazy because, like we said, I have high hopes for Ambry Thomas, but yeah, if Jason Britt's healthy, because I'm predicting Ambry Thomas to win the
Yeah.
other starting outside corner job.
Yes.
However, if Jason Verrett, because he got hurt week 1, so if he's healthy, he will start because of his experience and stuff. So you're looking at Ambry Thomas possibly being the fourth corner.
It could be.
So yeah.
I think we're seeing a shift to press man this year, and you can tell by signing Ward and the guys we're drafting that we're moving away from the the kind of off man soft stuff that we've been playing, and I'm really excited about that. We're actually going to get hands on guys at the line.
I love that because that's the old school football I remember. Like I remember, even before the NFL started that 5 yard rule to give them the cushion or whatever the case may be. Like I love them old school corners that jam you at the line of the scrimmage and get you off your route. You know what I mean? Because that takes away time from the timing of the quarterback throwing the ball too.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that we got Ambry Thomas to do something like that, and Travarius Ward, like two physical guys. So yeah. What's up, Miriah? You got something?
No, I
Giveaway.
just to end the show, for those that didn't leave us and go to nothing but Niners, we'll do a giveaway for you guys.
That's awesome. Good job, Miriah.
So go ahead and drop your numbers 1 through 100 in the chat. I'm not think Dante Johnson ain't getting cut because
I just don't think he is because he's versatile.
He can, we lose a safety, he's going to start there. We lose an outside corner, he's going to start there. We lose a freaking inside corner, he's going to start there. It's like,
yeah, he's just one of those guys, man. He can't leave the team. Like I think I just have a feeling he's going to be there. But
and he wasn't as shitty last season as he usually is. So
no, yeah, he played pretty decent. But then, like you said too, like we have Dominic Lenore. Hopefully, this lights a fire under him, and he is good because he showed some promise last year too. But then somebody made a point earlier on Spaces that Tariq Castro-Fields can also play safety as well. So maybe he's going to be one of those guys who, because he's kind of on the bigger side too. He's 6 foot 195 and he's fast. So maybe he can be like a backup safety position or whatever the case may be. Because right now it looks like Odom it's his job to probably lose because they played him pretty decent. They paid him $15 million over 3 years, so he's not just a special teamer.
No, I was just about to mention that I think, I like Hufanga, but he does have limitations in terms of athleticism, range that keep him more of a box safety. So, I expect that Odom is the guy they have pinned to start there. And I'm curious to see how he plays, because we made obviously no attempt to bring back our strong safety. I was surprised because he's still sitting out there and not getting offers, and I thought we might try to bring him back cheap like we have some of these other guys, but it doesn't look like we have any interest in doing that. So.
Yeah, because last year he didn't even make $1 million, I don't think. So it was crazy because I thought like Salah would probably throw some money at him because he knows his system, but he went after Marcel Harris instead. He was like, nope, I'm taking Marcel Harris over you, which was, I'm like, wow, the fact that he took Harris over Tart, that's saying something.
Yeah. I heard though since the end of the season that Tart wasn't coming back because he didn't want to come back.
Oh, he didn't want. Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he don't want to be there. So.
Oh, okay. Well, bye.
Yeah, I mean, good luck getting another starting job.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm thinking that's why we haven't seen him signed anywhere else because He's learning that nobody wants him. So
Oh yeah, that's what he gets. If that's true, a good riddance.
I mean,
Yeah.
you know, you want to be here, and I want you here, but if you don't,
Yeah.
yeah, got to
So
have
we
guys who
have
want to be there.
only 2 entries, I guess.
That's it. That's all I saw too.
All right.
It's such a big
Better
gap
odds for
too.
you guys. I know. One extreme, 19 to 97. Debo and Bosa.
Yeah, that's funny.
Where's
Me
my
and
damn-
Bosa, me and Nick Bosa have the same birthday.
Oh yeah.
Nice.
Yeah, I had the same, and it was funny too because Dante Pettis, when he was on the team, I had his birthday too. I was just like, well, I'd rather claim Bosa for sure because Dante
Mhm.
Pettis wasn't it.
77.
77.
So David, congratulations. Let's see what you get here.
Does anybody on our line have that number? Every time I think of that number, I think of Kwame Harris, and who was terrible.
Yeah, oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to play piano and chess, and didn't really want to play football.
Yeah, that's the last guy I remember wearing that number.
Got a Trey Lance card.
Oh, nice.
Let me turn a real light on here so I can show you. Tia, I'm going to draw a card for you too since you guys were the only 2 that entered.
That's a nice one. Has all the rookies on there, huh?
Yep.
Nice.
That's very nice. I like that.
So let me put David's name on this real quick, and then I'll draw yours, Tia, as well.
Okay. Oh, David, let me ask you before we leave, man. What are your thoughts on our running back room?
Actually, I'm excited about Ty Davis Price. I think when you look at the struggles that we had on short yardage last year, not being able to move the chains on over and over and over on these crucial 3rd and short, 4th and short, that they zeroed in on somebody who really can push forward and get those tough yards. Something we didn't have last year, obviously.
Yeah.
I feel like he was a little bit under the radar because LSU's offense was a mess last year, particularly run blocking was bad.
Yeah.
And that he's better than he looked, if you just look at a stat sheet or some of the film, because, they're not blocking for you, then, you're not getting very far.
That's true.
But we definitely needed more from the second running back spot than what we had last year.
Yeah.
Guys like Wilson and Hasty, they weren't really effective, particularly second half of the year. So you had Mitchell, and then there was a steep drop off.
Absolutely.
After that, in terms of their EPA per play and all of that.
Yeah.
And now they look to address that early, and I think that'll help the offense tremendously. Obviously, Debo's usage, him having to be moved into the backfield, while it was wildly successful, it took away from his job as a receiver, and his numbers suffered. I think before that he was on pace for over 1,900 yards last year.
Him and Cooper Kupp were neck to neck for a long time.
Yeah, and
Chase and Jamar Chase too. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You got another card to draw, Miriah?
Yeah, Tia, you got Raheem Mostert. It's a numbered card, 61 out of 249. And I know, and I appreciate you for watching regardless. And that's why I'm going to give you
I don't want to lose you as a viewer, but can you change your name to 49ers Fakers for life? Because I can't stand the Lakers, brother. I'm just giving you a hard time. Are you a Lakers fan, David?
No.
Oh, okay.
I grew up a Kings fan, actually.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. We've been terrible for 20 years, but
I'm with you. I'm an Orlando Magic fan, so I feel your pain.
Yeah,
I think got the Warriors fan on here that is going to probably see another championship.
Right. Well, the Magic are going to get a really, really good player, and they got this draft. So
the first overall pick.
Yeah. There's a couple of real game changers up at the top, and for a second I got excited. The Kings, when they're in the top 4, and then it's 4th. Yeah.
If you guys just DM me on Twitter your addresses, and I'll get them mailed out when I do the next mailing day. I appreciate you guys.
Perfect. I appreciate
Yeah.
you guys always being in the chat, man. It's always the same people. I see some new faces, and I love y'all, man. I know I say that all the time, but it's true. I know I talk some trash sometimes, but no, me and Miriah really do appreciate you guys, man. You guys are the true faithful. You guys are always here supporting us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're the
Beat-
faithfully faithful.
Nice. Beat LA.
But yeah, I think, that'll wrap it up. I don't have
Cool.
anything else. If you guys don't have
Nice.
anything else.
No, we're good. I appreciate you for coming on too, David.
I appreciate y'all for having me. I had a lot of fun, and I'd be happy to come back anytime you have me.
Perfect. And for the people who missed you in the beginning, go ahead and repeat your website that you're putting together.
Not up and running yet, but it'll be ripamaro.com. NFL draft coverage year round, and weekly content in terms of blog posts, and we'll probably be having either weekly or monthly NFL draft pod in there. So, it's in the process of being built. It'll be up and running here in the next month or two.
Okay. And what's your Twitter handle for everybody?
At Ripamaro. Same handle.
At
At Ripamaro. I've had the same internet handle since '96.
Oh wow.
Oh, wow. I was still in. Woo, I was young then.
You think you were still in? Is that what you said?
I was gonna say I was still in high school, but I think I was.
Oh, I thought you said I was still, and I'm like, okay.
Early days
right.
of the internet.
Yeah. All right, guys. We appreciate you. Like TL said, I know we tell you guys all the time, but we'll keep telling you even when we're rich and famous. We're still going to appreciate you guys. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you sometime.
Yeah.
I don't know when. Not Saturday.
Next week sometime, yeah.
Got graduation, but sometime after that.
Yeah. Well, cool. It'll be perfect too, because this, OTAs will be over. There should be a lot to talk about. So.
Yep. We'll see
All right,
how much Trey Lance can impress between now and then, so we can talk all about it.
I just hope he's not overused. That arm fitness is kind of worrying me a little bit.
Yeah, we don't know if he can even make it to game 1.
Yeah.
Let alone the whole season.
For real.
All right, guys. Appreciate you. Everybody stay safe out there.
You have a good one.